Check the fade. Hit play. Turn it up. Let it stay. Mic on, red light, late night. We dive right. Stories in the side streets of your mind. Questions on the edge we never hide. You'll pull a joke, then you pull the truth. Cut through the noise, talk to the youth. Every word feels sharp, feels new. Feels like we're all in the room with you. This is the Twist Rock Podcast. Turn it loud, make it last. Ride the riff, ride it fast. We sound so suchy, I don't junior. We spin the world a little sooner. Twist it, flip it, and rewind. Twist, rock, rewire my mind.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Twist Rock Podcast. Yes, welcome, guys. Oh Lord, I'm sorry for the way that my camera looks like right now. I'm trying to make it because I'm charging my phone. I should have kept the charge, but I was so tired when I came from work today. They didn't have the time to charge my phone the whole way, or the way that I wanted. Well, here we are. In a lovely Tuesday, I'm gonna say evening or afternoon. In a lovely Tuesday afternoon. So, yesterday I opened up a little bit in my podcast, did a little bit, and I was talking about um how I became a gothic and how I found out that I was hybrid. But I haven't told the reason. I haven't said the reason why. I didn't. I haven't say the reason why. The reason why I became gothic. What made me become gothic? What was the reason I became gothic? And I don't like to talk about. I really don't like to talk about my childhood. I really don't. But everything has a reason, you know. Um, like I said yesterday, for a couple weeks I have been talking about how I confess to the world that I was, that I'm gothic. I have been gothic since I was 15. Um, Told the story of how I became gothic, found out that I am a hybrid. But I never said the reason why. I never said the reason why I became gothic. Later found out I'm a hybrid. It all starts in my childhood. I never I never had I mean, even though sometimes I do say that, I had a great childhood. Um, that's a lie. That's a lie, and I cover it because my childhood was dark. Don't get me wrong. I do have some memories, some good memories as my childhood. Um, I have good memories in my childhood, but there's some memories that are not are not good. But the reason why I became gothic is because it's just how my life started. It's just the way that my life started, and my life didn't start as great because my life starts before the story of my life um started way before I was born. Way before I was born. And I think the for what happened before I was born, and I'm gonna say this is I'm not talking bad about my mother. I love my mom. Me and my mom are like this. My mom is the best, and I really love my mother. I really do. I love my mom. I really do. But my mom, she had a rough childhood. Today, she had a rough childhood, and how my life started way before way before I was born. Not a lot of people know that I had a brother, a older brother. And I want to try not to get emotional because every time I talk about this, I get emotional. So I'm gonna try my best not to get emotional. Um, I had a older brother named Ricardo. Ricardo he was 3 years old um, when I was only 3 months in my mom's belly. Yeah, I was 3 months in my mom's belly, and Ricardo was 3 years old. Ricardo, my older brother, I don't know what was the name, but I know he had cancer in his stomach. A cancer that couldn't be cured, a cancer that was eating his stomach up. My older brother had a grandmother, and I heard that his grandmother passed away, and in the way that she passed away, she was holding my older brother. You know those I don't know, those reclining chairs, those old chairs back in the day that used to go, like back and forth, like I don't know what you call it, either reclining chairs or I don't know what you call. I don't know how you call those chairs. But his grandmother passed away holding my older brother, and when the family find her, the rocking chair, you go, the rocking chair still was rocking, and she still had my older brother in her arms. Months later, um, my older brother was in the hospital, and my grandfather, God bless his soul, was the one that was always visiting him in the hospital. Um, and my older brother Ricardo, he died in my grandfather's arms. Meanwhile, I was only 3 months in my mom's belly. I never met my older brother, never. Um, so when I was born, I was only born 7 months. Um, I was born with yellow blood, anemia. I think it was ammonia. I think it was. Yeah, ammonia. I was born with ammonia. I think it's yellow blood. And my mother had a rough childhood. She had a rough childhood. Like any, and like I said, I don't want nobody to think that I'm not talking bad about my mother. I love my mother, but this is story. It's part of my story. It's part of my life, and it's the main reason why I became gothic. Uh, my mother, as a teenager, she made bad decisions, like any teenager, which is normal, like any teenager. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Mother had a rough childhood, and did she make bad decisions when she was a teenager? Yes, she did. And one of my earrings fall off, which is great. Hold on, guys. Lord have mercy. All right. So, my mother. I mean, this is the story that my family told me before I was, before I was born. That happened before I was born. Um, my mother used to use drugs, and she used to use drugs while she was pregnant, while she had me in her womb. Um, I heard stories that to keep her high when she didn't have, the money to get the drugs and cocaine, heroin. Like I said, I'm not talking bad about my mother. I love my mom. Like I say, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect, which is understandable. Even I, as a teenager, I made bad decisions. I did. As a teenager, Lord have mercy, I made a lot of bad decisions in my life. Um, she used to, the markers. She used to take the top of the markers and she used to smell the marker just to keep her high. She was doing that when I was in her womb. Which it um made me, the way that she told me how she had me. She didn't even have to push. I just came out. She was only 7 months pregnant, and I just came out. Um, when I came out from my mom's womb, my father was drunk. My father was drunk. I think my uncle was drunk, and um, I was born in Jayuya, Puerto Rico. But because my condition, they only gave me 4 hours to die. I had only 4 hours to live. So they had to take me from Jayuya, Puerto Rico to Ponce, Puerto Rico, which it was 3 hours, a 3 hour drive. So I got when I got to excuse me, when I got to excuse me, when they took me in the ambulance, when they took me to a I don't know what's the I don't know what the hospital called in Ponce, Puerto Rico, but they took me to the hospital in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and when they took me there, when they got there, I only had 1 hour to live. I only had 1 hour to live. I needed a blood transfusion. It was the only way that would have saved my life. Um, my dad was the one that gave me made the blood transfusion. But at first they didn't let him because he was drunk. And my father was so pissed off. He's like, "No, you're gonna let me save my son." I think he got into an argument with the doctor. He punched the doctor, and the doctor understood why he punched him. The doctor understood how he was feeling. The doctor said, "Go ahead, start a blood transfusion." They took 7 tubes. I don't know how to say it, but 7 tubes of blood from my dad. Um, my dad almost passed away by giving me, during the transfusion, the blood transfusion. I think he did pass away, but they revived him while there was um while during the blood transfusion they revived him. Um, um so my father always told me this. My father said that when he was laying next to me, because this like there's two hospital beds, so it had two hospital beds. I was in one hospital bed and he was in another one. There are all these cables and needles and stuff like that. So all these tubes was coming from him, and the blood was coming straight to my vein. My father said that I opened my eyes in the his last tube of blood. He said that I opened my eyes, and next thing you know, um, I was abandoned by my mother. The reason that I was abandoned, well, this is side to the story. My mother told me her side to the story. My father tells me his side of the story. There was an argument between my parents. Like it's understandable. Like every like any relationship always has it doesn't work out. Always have a relate a argument. Uh, my mother left me at my aunt's house with some of my cousins. My mom said I will be back for him. They don't tell me the story that my family told me when I was growing up. Um, my aunt couldn't she couldn't take care of me. But my aunt did, she was taking care of me for a little while until my mother came back. This is why her her children, my cousins, we not only call each other, we not always call each other. That's what I meant to say. Lord have mercy. We not always call each other cousins. We call each other brothers and sisters. And the reason why we call each other brother and sisters because my my aunt was taking care of me while until my mom came back. And the reason why because she had to leave because there was the argument that happened between my parents. My uncle, they couldn't even though they took care of me. I think it was a couple months they took care of me, but they couldn't do anymore. They had to make the decision to give me to my grandparents. My grandmother took me, and my grandparents took me away. They took me uh, all the way to Bronx, New York, where I was raised. Um, I got some memories of my childhood when I was, when my parents was my grandparents was living in the Bronx, and I'm not gonna get emotional. Not gonna get emotional. Promise I was not gonna get emotional. So I was raised in the Bronx. I was raised in the Bronx with my aunts, uncles. It was a big family. My aunts, uncles, cousins, my first cousins. My dad was there, and um, my grandparents. Like I said, like my grandparents, like every relationship. They had their problems. My grandmother used to get, like I said, I'm not talking bad about my grandfather. I love my grandfather. I miss him a lot. Love him. My grandfather was an alcoholic, but my grandfather was one of the greatest guitarists, guitarists of Puerto Rico. One of the greatest. He always made that guitar cry. Ooh, he did. And his singing, Lord have mercy. He had a voice. He had a great voice. This is why my family is known for. I don't know if you guys saw a video that has been posted on Facebook that tells my story of how I started to sing, rapping, and stuff like that, and it all goes straight to my all the way to my grandparents used to sing at a church. Grandfather was a very guitarist that had pray. Um, he played the guitar with very known old bands, and grandfather was an alcoholic. Anybody makes mistakes. You know, my grandfather made his mistakes too, and which is understandable. We all make mistakes. Nobody, we're not robots. You know what I mean? We are human beings that make mistakes. And my grandfather, when he was getting drunk, he used to beat my grandmother. That made her separate from him, and she took me to Puerto Rico, which it was the first time that I was in Puerto Rico. It was in Yauco, Puerto Rico. You guys know the story, when I came to Puerto Rico, I didn't know how to speak English, I mean Spanish. I didn't understand it. I mean, I could speak a little bit Spanish, but I did not understand it. So you guys know the story. How about that? I had a teacher that always used to beat me because I couldn't say the word in Spanish right. That story. The reason why we have to go back to the Bronx, and then my grandmother had to, with me, she had to go back to Guanica, Puerto Rico. That's when I met all my friends. And that's you gotta know the story where, um, when I was in the school, they had to keep me separate from the classroom because they was teaching me Spanish. So when I was like around 8, I was 8 years old. I think it was 8, right? Yeah, I was like 8 years old. 8, 9, around there, around there. Um, no, 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 no. Like around, like, let's say 10, 11, 12. So yeah, 9, like 9 years old. My grandmother, she met this guy that we do believe and still believe that my grandmother, how can I say this? That guy was a really bad man. It was really bad. His name was Roberto Jimenez. I will never forget about that name. Never, never forget about that name. Roberto Jimenez was not a good guy. It's a bad guy, and he used to beat my grandmother into. I was getting beat too. He used to beat me too. There was many times that he beat me with a bat. There was many times that he almost cut me with a knife before, almost stabbed me with a knife before. Um, there was many times that my father used to be an alcoholic back in the day. My father beat this guy many times. Um, when I was 10 years old, but like I said, we do believe because this man, when I say he was a bad person, not only he was an alcoholic, not only he was using drugs, not only he used to do voodoo, he used to work with black magic, and that was the way that he was making every girl to fall in love with him. My grandmother was a victim of that. Until one day she went to his house because she was looking for him. I think they were separated that time. She went to his house and I think she was like bringing him all his stuff. And she went in his room, and when she went in his room, so something told her, look under the pillow. When she looked under the pillow, there was a picture of her with, I don't know, some black stuff, some stuff. I think it was voodoo stuff, and when she took her picture and left the house, it's like she was like the curse was broken. She woke up from whatever curse he did to her, and we had to go. I think we had to go. We had to leave Puerto Rico because um like I said, he used to be my grandmother. My grandmother, called the cops, whatever, and the cops was very friendly with us. The cops was the cops knew who we were because of my dad always was always was going to prison, and so they already knew him, and they knew us. And I remember one night we was going to go to our house, but the cops said, the cops told us to stay in the cop car. They said, we. So I think they went with my grandmother, and they said we want to make sure that your house is fun and your house is great, so you guys can go back to your house. And they found him under my mom's bed. He was hiding under my mom's bed, and I thank God because if we went without the cops, what would happen to us? Like we probably wouldn't be here right now. We probably wouldn't be alive. And they got him arrested, and they told us we only can keep him in the weekend, and we gonna he's going we're gonna have to set him free. They suggest to us that we have to leave Puerto Rico. We have to. My grandmother, she I got the tickets, whatever. The next day we left to Virginia, Alexander, Virginia. I love Alexander. I love Alexander, Virginia. I really do. You know, very good place. You know, to live in. I was there all the way until I was 12. My grandmother decided to go back to Puerto Rico, and I was in Guanica, Puerto Rico, all the way into 2001. But story doesn't end there with Roberto Jimenez. I remember when I was 15 years old. Um, I was already backyard wrestling already. I was whatever. I was Nazi 2K by that time. I was I was Boricua Junior, and I always was wearing a Puerto Rican mask, whatever. One night, I remember it was a friend of mine and myself, my grandmother, Uncle Junior, God bless his soul, and this man came running. I don't know where he came running in the house, start beating my grandmother. Um, I told my friend, go get Uncle Junior. And my first reaction, I had to get this man out of my grandmother's. I had to get her out for her. I remember, and there's a lot of story I could share about him, but if I do tell you all the stories, and I think I did jump a little bit because I remember when I was 12. I mean, when we came back to Puerto Rico, my grandmother went back with him. I remember this man. He one time he broke my bicycle. Um, he almost stabbed me in the arm. That's when he hit me with a bat. Hit me with a bat on my back. Um, so that's when my mom realized that he was doing voodoo and stuff like that, and my mom went to his house, and so we didn't see him anymore into. Oh, hold on. See, I'm jumping. Hold on. When my grandmother went back with him, he used to still, beat her again. And um, one morning, not gonna get emotional. Not gonna get emotional. One morning, uh, I remember. I will never forget this. I will never forget it. One morning, I remember waking up and I see this man naked in my room. And I remember he tried to rape me. He did. And I always say that my God was there with me. My God was there for me. Because when I see this man standing right next to my bed, naked, something told me, turn around and face the wall. Turn around, face the wall. When I did that, this man got out of my room screaming. And this is what I said: God does assist. God does assist. A lot of people say that God does not assist. God does assist because this man got out of my room. He ran out of my room screaming. And my grandmother woke up. My grandmother was sleeping. She woke up, and I remember he saying, "There's a big guy in your grandson's room." There's a big guy in your grandson's room. And this is why I do believe in God. I might be gothic, I might be a hybrid, I might dress like this, but I'm a big God believer because God was there for me. My angel was there for me. Because, if God was not there for me, if God was, he probably would have raped me. That man probably would have hurt me, would have do something wrong to me. And I remember this man got out of my room screaming, scared. My grandmother, I told my grandmother, but yeah, like I said, this man had a curse. He must had a curse, for my grandmother. And I understand, she didn't believe me. She didn't believe the story. She didn't believe that this man almost raped me. And into she did believe me afterwards. And she asked him, "What did you saw?" She asked him, "What did you saw? Who did you saw in his room?" He said, "This big guy, this tall guy. He was so tall that he he explained to her how this man looked like, and he was so tall I couldn't see his face. I could not see his face. It was like a dark shadow. That man, he left the house, never came back. Because my God was there. My angel was there. I got a name for my angel. His name is Kalaya. I name him Kalaya. Um, we didn't see him again into when I was 15. And one night when I was 15, one night, my grandmother was sitting. She was sitting like right outside. We was outside and in the balcony, and just having a great time. We was talking. I was playing with my friend. This man came running out from out of nowhere, got in the balcony, started beating my grandmother. So I told my friend, go ahead and get my uncle Junior. My first reaction, I said I have to get this man off of my grandma's off of my grandmother's. So I jumped on top. I jumped on his back and I put him in a chokehold. I did. He was trying. He did everything. Like I remember, he got me off of him once, and the way he threw me against. I don't know. I don't remember. But I know he threw me off from him. Got back up. I jumped on him and I put him back. I put him back in the chokehold. I almost killed this man. I almost did. I almost killed this man because I put him in a chokehold where he was almost unconscious. We both fall to the ground, and I was holding him. I still was holding his neck. And I remember I was squeezing his neck, and I was squeezing like I was so angry, and I was so pissed off, and then I just squeezed his neck, and I just squeezed and squeezed until I felt his breath coming out of his mouth, like I felt his life coming out of his mouth. He was begging to let him go. He begged for his life. Then my uncle came downstairs, and my uncle grabbed me off of him. My uncle grabbed him outside. We had a friend of ours that a neighbor friend of ours. He came with a tool, and they both started beating this guy up. They beat him up so bad. Man was bleeding. His face was bleeding. Cops came, and we didn't see him again until I was 17. I remember going to a show. We had a show, a wrestling show, and I was walking, and I see this man on the other side. I see him on the other side of the street, and I said, "Oh, look, this motherfucker here." Okay, I was already 17. I was buff by that time, and I said, "Roberto, now that we're here, now that I see you, let's finish this. You and me. Let's finish this. You and me." We got some unfinished business. I told him. This man saw me, and I remember he went like this. No, he ran. He ran. Never see him again from that day. Never see. I never see him again. And I had a. There was situations where I don't know if you guys heard the story. I don't like crowns. I hate crowns. I do. And the reason why I hate crowns because there was a group of crowns that was kidnapping kids, was kidnapping them, raping them, and killing them, and they was throwing their bodies in the river. They was driving. They was driving a great van, a great commercial van without no license plate in the back. And I remember one evening, I was going to my friend's house. We had another show, and I mean, these wrestling shows that we was doing, even though it was backyard wrestling, we was getting paid. Oh yeah, we was making money in Puerto Rico. We was making money in Puerto Rico because we used to wrestle not only in my friend's backyard. There was a abandoned high school where we there was like a little like a stage. We call it a stage, but it was made out of concrete. We used to wrestle there. We used to wrestle on top of that concrete, and people used to come and see us. You know, we were very known, and which the school used to come. You know, like middle school, high school, everybody used to come and see us. They used to pay $5. $5. It was not. We was not selling tickets, but they used to pay us $5 each. $5 each. But that time it was a lot of money. And I remember that evening we had a show. I had my book bag, I had my wrestling clothes and everything, my mats and everything. And I see this freaking band pass by me. I said, oh shit. And I'm like, please keep going. Please keep going. This freaking band, they stopped. And I said, oh shit. And I see these two crowns getting out, and they chase me. My friend's gate was like this tall. I don't know. I don't think I touched that gate because I jumped over that gate. And in Puerto Rico, the way the houses are, you could go under the house. I ran under my friend's house, and the crowns could not get in, so they left. There was other situations where, you know, when I was going to school, I was always being bullied. I was always was getting bullied. Always was getting bullied. Where They used to throw rocks at me, but because I knew wrestling and stuff like that. I was always was fighting with my bullies. I was always was fighting with them. Always, like I beat them one by one. I did. I beat them one. I beat them one by one. But the reason, the main reason I started fighting with my bullies because one day my grandmother used to be a gatekeeper, right, in my high school. My high school, which is not, is still there, but because there was earthquakes in Puerto Rico, and that happened when I was in Rochester. I heard about it. The high school, the way that the earthquakes, I think my high school was destroyed. My high school's still there. They didn't demolish it. They still there. If you go to Guanica, Puerto Rico, you're going to see. I will show pictures. I will show pictures that where the high school still there is almost destroyed. But my grandma used to be a gatekeeper where when you get in the high school, it was all gates. It just all gates. And I remember I was at lunch. My grandmother was like, she was at the gate, and the bullies, the kids that used to bully me, they was trying to get in, but she couldn't let them in, and they was pushing my. Meanwhile, my grandmother was, that time she was probably on her 50s. Yeah, she was probably on her 50s by that time. And I see them pushing my grandmother, like my grandmother was holding the gate, and they was pushing, but my grandmother was like, she was really strong. My grandmother was really strong. And I look, and I start screaming at that. I say, "Yo, leave that's my grandmother." Oh, fuck you and this and that. Oh, okay. I call my friends, the same friends that introduced me to rock music, introduced me to become a rebel, introduced me to, uh, not to the gothic life yet, but introduced me to become a rebel and stuff like that. And I told them what was going on, and they saw what was happening. So ran around. We all ran around the high school into where they was. Man, and soon they didn't see us. Man, let me tell you, when we got where there was, man, man, it was a big fight. I grabbed the this kid. He was the and no, this was middle school, not high school, middle school. And soon as we got to them, I grabbed the most popular, the head of the group, and I start punching. I start punching him. The other guys got the other ones. We start punching them and kicking them, and we didn't got suspended. They got suspended. We didn't got suspended. Thank God. But they all got suspended. Um, and that's when I started beating my bullies. I started beating them. High school, yes, in high school I was getting bullied a lot. And this, I forgot his name, but he used to be the head of the group that was bullying me. I remember I was walking with my girlfriend that time. I was walking with my girlfriend that time, and every time every time I was coming in in the high school, he always used to start, like screaming at me and try to fight with me. And I saw him. I saw him like he tried to jump at me. I got my book back. I let go. I dropped my book back and I punch him. When bang, I punch him one time. He went like this and he hit the wall. And then when I told my one of my aunts, my aunt came to the school. It's the same aunt that remember the story the story that I told you guys that my aunt told my teacher, the one that used to beat me because I didn't know how to speak Spanish. I couldn't say some words. Yeah, that's the same one. She almost fight him. She almost did. So my aunt my aunt pressed charges against him. I had to go to freaking uh in front of a judge and stuff like that. And we had to leave once again. We had to leave Puerto Rico because they said because I was the one that punched him first, they was gonna put him in probation and myself in probation. But because my aunt, we dropped the charges, I had to leave Guanica, Puerto Rico, and that's when I came to I came to Rochester, New York. There was now a situation. The reason why I became Gothic when I was 17, and I was still in Puerto Rico, and when I was 17 on my birthday, I met my mother. Remember, my mother had a boyfriend that time, and her boyfriend was the one that took her to Guanica, Puerto Rico to meet me. I remember that day I had another show that day. I was the champion that day. I had I have 5 belts already in backyard wrestling. I have 5 belts already. I had a show where I had to wrestle 5 matches to defend my 5 titles. So, and at the same time, my friends was waiting for me at the same time because after the show, they was gonna celebrate my birthday. And I remember I was taking a shower. My grandmother said, so, I got a surprise for you. I was okay, mom. Okay, I always call her mom. I was okay, mom. I'm coming out in a minute. Usually, when I came out, I see this woman, and I'm like, who is this woman? And I'm like, okay, who is this woman? Like, didn't know who she was. My grandmother said, Celso, this is your mother. My mom? Yeah, that's your mom. and I met my mom for the first time when I was 17 years old. And I got pictures with her. I got, I was skating and everything. I got pictures with her. And asked my mom, do you want to come with me? I told her that I was a backyard wrestler, that I was wrestling, that I had a show to go. And her and her boyfriend that time, and her boyfriend had two like a daughter and a son, which they became my stepbrother and stepsister. So they came with me. They came with me, and then they saw me wrestle. I I wrestled 5 matches. I retained my 5 titles that day. And then my mom had to leave Puerto Rico because she broke up with that man. And I came to Puerto Rico. I came to Rochester, and then I met my brother, John, that first day. And then it goes to the story that I told everybody on Facebook Live, how I became gothic. I was in the basement, and it was a bunch of people there, and I had my first gothic girlfriend. That was the first time that I smoked weed. Um, well, yeah, the reason why I became gothic is because a child was that great. I had this. I create this outer ego. I create this persona that it was dark. It was a dark inside of me, where it made me become rebel. It made me become the person that I am right now. And hold on, let me see if I have. I don't know if I have people. No, I don't think I got comments. So um, that person that I created, his name was Aslik, which Aslik is my name in reverse. Celso, but if you say my name in reverse is Aslik. Aslik was a persona in me that was protecting me from the problems that I was going through when I was in Puerto Rico. When I was 10 years old, um, like I said, I was being bullied and stuff like that at school, and that's when my grandmother spoke to me. She said that she was my grandmother, that told the story about my brother, my older brother that I never met, told me about my mom and the story and stuff like that. That I almost committed suicide. I almost did. Puerto Rico almost committed suicide probably 2 times already. And I thank God that it was not my time to leave Earth. It was not my time to go to heaven. Um, I'm not gonna go into details how I tried to commit suicide. I had to. They had to take me to a professional to a professional, a psychologist, where they almost they almost put me in a crazy home, but they found out like I was so intelligent, and I remember, yeah, I used to play basketball with my friends. Okay, hold on. I'm back. I'm back. So they show you these white papers, and they show you this like symbols or this black. I don't know how you call them, but they ask you, "What do you see?" And I told them, "This is what I see." Blah 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 blah. And they told my grandmother, "You have a very intelligent and smart. Like this kid is smarter, way smarter than us, way smarter than us." Um, and the reason why they say, they told her that I could try to commit suicide because, of, the story and stuff like that. And they say it's very normal. It's very normal. And um, I remember when I came to, you know, Rochester, New York. That's when I became gothic. I started wearing this right here that I wear right now. I started wearing all this. Um, I became more darker, more full blown gothic um when they killed my uncle. Um, I don't want to get into details on that one. There was another situation where I don't I this part right here only a few people know. I was 19. I met this beautiful girl named Yvette. Um, like I said, I was already gothic and stuff like that. And I met Yvette, and Yvette became my girlfriend back in the day. Yvette was my first time. That's when I lost my virginity. Yvette was pregnant, but she I found out that I was her lover. I thought I was her boyfriend. I found that I was her lover because she has she, excuse me. um Yvette had a boyfriend, older than her, way older than her. But that man, couldn't get her pregnant. Then Yvette, which her belly was showing, and Yvette, she told me that she had another man, whatever, whatever. But she used protection with that guy, and I left. I left to right here, Dunkirk, the first time in Dunkirk. Meanwhile, she was still pregnant. When I came back, she told me that um how you call that? She had an abortion. Supposedly she had an abortion. But the streets they talk. Where in the street, people have told me that she didn't have no abortion, that that girl's still alive. And now Yvette had like she got 3 kids, but one of her kids might be mine. But I never met my daughter. I never met my daughter. Never. It was a few times that I saw her. A few times that I saw this little girl. There's a saying in Puerto Rico, blood will always call you. And I remember seeing this little girl. My heart was like this the whole time. I didn't know why. I see this little girl, and when I looked at her, she had my same eyebrows. She had my hair, and Yvette was always getting nervous. Like when I was looking at the little girl, I saw Yvette getting nervous. Like I gotta go, I gotta go. I gotta go, and she left. And to this day, I try to look for this little girl. I try to look for Yvette, never find her. It's like the earth. I don't know. It's like she disappeared. Like I tried to look for in Facebook, MySpace, nothing. But I don't know. It's like I do feel her. It's like I do believe that my daughter is still alive. I do. I do believe that my daughter is still alive. Where I meet my daughter, I don't know. Don't know when. And that was like I became more darker. I became to the dark side, more gothic. Oh man, I have I had another ex girlfriend named Cassandra. Uh, Cassandra confessed to me that she was pregnant by me, but she had the baby, but she gave the baby to adoption, which is a closed case. She gave it to adoption, and it was another girl. So I have 2 daughters that I never saw, I never met. I still believe that my first daughter is alive. I do believe that my older daughter is with another family. That even if I try to look for her, I can't because it's a closed case. And even though I was, like I said, I was gothic and find out that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago that I'm hybrid. Um, I mellowed down when I got married. I mellowed down when I got married. I got married when I was 23, and I didn't got back to my gothic roots into weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. You know, and this is why the reason why I became gothic, I became to the dark side, because for me it's like a escape from reality. When I put this when I put this here, I feel like there's no emotions. They're gone. It's like I feel numb. Like I feel numb. When I was going through a divorce, I went through depression, where once again I tried to commit suicide 3 times, and once again God was there for me. God was there for me. This is why I feel God every single day. I feel God every single day. I always say God is my best friend, my savior, you know, and I feel like God is okay with me being gothic. God is okay with me dressing black the whole time, because I'm a Christian hybrid. We do exist. We do exist. You could be gothic, you could be hybrid and still believe in God. Yes, you can. Look it up. Look it up. Google it. Google it. You know, I see these videos where, like, and I talk to a lot of my friends that are emo, are gothic. You know, it's a family. That we love each other, and and I feel more stronger because I got my backyard resident family. You guys see them. You guys see them the whole time. They always in my talk shows. They always in my podcast. Cedric King and Friends. My brother John, they always was there for me, and it feels great to be back. It feels great to be back in black. It feels great to be back, to be gothic again. Where I feel more stronger, I feel like I'm unstoppable. I really do. Nothing wrong to be gothic, guys. Nothing wrong to be emo. Nothing wrong to be gothic. Nothing wrong to be emo. Because we all about music. We all about uh, you know, fashion. I love listening to my rock music. When I listen to my rock music, it's like calms me down. It really do. It calms me down a lot. You know, this is the reason why I became gothic. My childhood was never great, but I have some great memories where, of course, backyard wrestling. You know why I not only I do backyard wrestling because I love backyard wrestling. Backyard wrestling saved my life. Backyard wrestling, it was my escape from reality. Um, how do you call it? Yeah, my escape. It was my escape from reality. It calmed me down. It was a stress relief. It was a stress relief for me. Even though I'm retiring this year. I am. I retiring this year. I mean, I retiring this year where C2K February tour is going to start on April next month. It's going to start on April next month. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot of backyard wrestlings that I'm going to be in: RCEW, WCE, TBW. A lot of wrestlings in backyard wrestlings in Rochester, New York. My last day is on August 23rd. We are trying to do my last match right here in Dunker, New York at the fairgrounds. We're trying to do that. It's gonna be a free show. But yeah, now you guys know why I became gothic. Now you guys know why I'm this guy. Even though I work, I'm a regular person at work. But when I'm not when I'm here home, when I'm outside, this is who I am. Well, anyway, guys, here's the episode of Twist Rock Podcast with your host, Cecil Santiago Jr., aka C2K, aka Oxlick. You know, and at the same time, I am more stronger because you guys. Because you guys always support me. You guys always support me. Always, even when I do C2K talk show, when I do my podcast, when I wrestle at work, I love my job. I love my job because they love me. You guys love me, and they always ask me, "When you gonna do your podcast? When you gonna do your talk show? When you gonna, you gonna do your wrestling?" Yesterday they was asking me, "When is gonna be your last match?" But we're gonna be there. But thank you guys for always supporting me, always listening to what I have to say. I'm so sorry if I got emotional, but I just want to guys to understand why I became gothic and stuff like that. But I will see you guys until the next episode of Twist Rock Podcast, which also is Double Union. Love you and have a blessed day. Until next time. See you guys.
Guests drop in with their scars and wins. You peel back fear, let the real begin. One hot take, then a long deep breath. Laugh at the chaos, dance with the mass. We're scribbling